Last night, potentially the most important election in the UK for a very long time, and it did not go well for the left. The British electorate voted Thursday, resulting in a 78-seat parliamentary majority for Boris Johnson and the worst showing for the opposition, the left-wing Labour Party led by Jeremy Corbyn, in nearly 100 years. Take a look at a graphic from the New York Times showing how the vote ended up going down. And you can also see in this next graphic the share of the electorate, how it's shifted over the past 4 years, with the conservative share trending up ever so slightly with each election.
Yeah, last time I made a prediction before the British elections and said that Corbyn could win. People said you're preposterous. He has no chance. He was 20. I believe he's 24 points behind with 6 weeks left to go. He closed it down to 4 and nearly won last time. This time I did not make any such prediction. Why? Well, several different things have happened, and we might disagree a little bit on the panel here on this. I don't know, but one is I think we'll all agree on. Is there's been nonstop propaganda against Corbyn from the right, the left, the media. Every single person in power is united against Corbyn in the UK. And so how much of that propaganda can anyone withstand is a good question. And now it's been years and years and years of he's the worst, he's wrong. The right wingers are right, he's wrong. The corporate people are always right, okay, whether they're right on or the left. This is true, unfortunately, in way too many countries. But the biggest factor is that he was not running against an establishment candidate. Now, Boris Johnson's a complicated figure, obviously been in politics a long time in the UK, but he is known to be more of a populist. So the reason I said Corbyn would do well in the last elections, but not necessarily in this one, is because it's not about left versus right. It's about populist versus establishment. And so the right-wing populists in the UK had a clearer message this time around, just like the fake right-wing populist Donald Trump did in 2016 versus the establishment candidate Hillary Clinton. So populism won again. It was just a more coherent propaganda-backed populism that the right wing presented in the UK. So that is the dynamic that is playing out in every election, and now several times in the UK itself. And then finally, look, Corbyn is significantly to the left of anyone in American politics. So there were some issues that I certainly didn't agree with, and so I don't want to get into like nitpicking, especially now that the election is over, et cetera. But I don't want anybody to think that, oh, he has the same views as Elizabeth Warren, right? No, he was way to the left of Warren, Bernie Sanders, et cetera. Because right now the propaganda now in the corporate media in America is Corbyn and Sanders were the exact same thing. So I guess let's make sure we go with Biden.
So we're gonna have some examples of that.
Can I push back on some of the stuff that he said, or should I wait?
Yeah, no, go for it now.
Okay, one. Of course, people are cynically using this Labor defeat as a way to attack Bernie Sanders, not as much Elizabeth Warren, but definitely Bernie Sanders. And there is no Brexit parallel in America, and this was the Brexit election. It's a really silly parallel to engage in. It's just a cynical attack. These people don't know what they're talking about. If anyone ever says like, oh, well, Bernie Sanders versus Jeremy Corbyn, they were both too leftist, too far left, and that's why we need to go back to the center, like Michael Bloomberg pointed out recently, this is incorrect. One, because of what I just mentioned as far as the Brexit parallel, Jeremy Corbyn did not have a consistent position on this, and he also was stuck between a rock and a hard place because Labour, his own party, was also split on remaining or leaving. He was more of in the leave camp originally, but then he had to concede to the Remainers in his own party.
Let me just pause real quick there to say Hasan's 100% right about that. And when you can't straighten out your own message within your own party, you're in a world of trouble in an election.
So he thought potentially he could win the best of both worlds. Maybe some Lib Dems who were also interested in remaining. He ended up losing to both parties. So that was a terrible decision, I think, and I criticized him early on as well. But he also was in a really uniquely terrible situation. But most importantly, as a consequence of all of the overwhelming anti-Corbyn message directed by everyone in the most coordinated, most deliberate smear campaign I've ever witnessed in my entire life and throughout history, Jeremy Corbyn's popularity diminished versus Bernie Sanders is currently the most popular politician. I think the fourth most, like he goes up and down in the polls, but like he has the highest approval rating, highest favorability rating out of any politician running right now, higher than Joe Biden even. So Jeremy Corbyn on the other hand was deeply unpopular. So there is no parallel between Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn. And I love Jeremy Corbyn. I think he was great, but unfortunately, the people of UK did not feel the same way about him.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I agree with Hasan's analysis. We've had a 2-hour debate about capitalism versus socialism on Agitprop, which is one of our shows for members. You should check that out. tyt.com/join, become a member, check that out. So he agrees with Corbyn more than I do, and that's our political disagreement. But in terms of analysis, I think he's spot on.
And his policies were popular as well. So that's the other unique situation here, is that the UK is technically supposed to be more to the left when it comes to economic issues than the United States. As we know, they have a fully nationalized healthcare service. Now, the best indication that his policies were popular is 9 years of austerity have caused the NHS to suffer significantly, so much so that even the Tories were lying basically about how they were going to finally fund the NHS. Three days before the election, Boris Johnson was like, "Oh, we're going to put more money in the NHS. We didn't do it for 9 years. We're going to do it now." And the media backed it. The media never questioned it. The media refused to talk about the potential collusion between America and Donald Trump and Boris Johnson's camp on privatizing certain aspects of the NHS as a consequence of the post-Brexit like trade deals that they need to engage in. So the media was absolutely colluding. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, the reason why I'm stressing this, is because this is going to happen in America. It's already been happening, but it's definitely going to become a larger issue that we on the left need to be aware of and need to figure out a way to push back against. Because as Bernie starts winning some key primaries, we are going to see a lot worse attacks. It's already started. The Federalist was asking people whether or not Bernie Sanders was an anti-Semite because he endorsed the Labor Party. Like, insane, just insane, and they will do it. These people are all ghouls, okay? They will do this. So get ready and figure out ways immediately to push back against this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm gonna jump back a little bit to something earlier you were saying. It's harder to campaign when you're trying to, to appeal to two groups that are at loggerheads over the most important issue being debated, whereas Boris Johnson had a much easier job of just trying to appeal to people who want to get the hell out of there and they don't care how it happens. But at the same time, one of the things that Labor ran up against was the two sources of information that people should be able to rely on to go into the voting booths knowing what's actually going on. They couldn't. You rightly point out that much of the mainstream equivalent media there was just hyped with attacking Corbyn. That's what they were using their time on. They didn't have time to fact check the Conservative Party. And the Conservative Party was taking advantage of that with the other form of media, online ads and things like that. We covered a study on the damage report, 88% of their ads had documented falsehoods in them. Just clear, obvious falsehoods, like how many hospitals are you saying that you're gonna build? They would say 40 in an ad, they never actually said that. All their public speeches said 6. They were lying about the priorities of the Labor Party, where they were gonna put money, all of that, and it didn't get fact checked. The online people who are, the online platforms that are promoting these ads, they're taking money, they don't care to actually fact check it. And the media didn't care enough because they were busy demonizing Corbyn.
Yeah, corporate media not being fair and honest, and the Conservative Party lying in ads. Wow, that does sound really weird. I'm sure we wouldn't say anything like that here in the US. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.